Edico Europe. You could clearly see, say, at the time of most of these players, every Brazil, Ediaco Europe, now most of them made him close to about 23, 22, 24 years. And so no move free Brazil, Ako Europe. But then the new generation of Brazil, governments now have the national policy, say they can have sports to be part of the economy. And it's a bit more boosting a lot of financial stability to the Brazil as a government. So, play the free, Brazil as a country, they are called Europa. The government will have 20% share of that particular sales.
Oh, okay.
It's almost Papa reference a virtual junior. It's Flamengo, the Real Madrid football club, 45 million euros. Brazil government will have 20% share of that particular money. That's the reason why it's a club and as a country who say play BA Peja, they will be quick to sell the player from Brazil to the other European club just for the country to have major share of that particular money, because of say Omu use that kind of ways to actually regain a lot of financial stability for Brazil as a country. So it was a national policy, but national policy now as a Ankoboa Brazil as a national team and even Brazil as a country, because of say so obi a player as what's not Brazil cha. What it means is say we need the cultural identity of that particular national team. And the more now all channel, the spirit and the familiarity of the Brazil national team is fan. So most of these players on the Edinburgh Brazil national team currently check your days the free Brazil Edico Europe. Almost 100% of them are pure Brazilians, are free Brazil as a football country. Eco Europe at the tender age.
We want last year.
Last batcha. Yes.
Number 13 Cicinho. Robinho. And zero Roberto Kaka, Ronaldinho, Adriano, Lucio, Juan.
Yeah.
Soccer Juan. Yes, Roma.
Yeah, yes,
Juan. Marcus Nona for Lucio. And then number 16 na me finidin kakra. We fino e da shorting go we no see a very good.
Very good, yeah.
But then women last year. As a pass out but we must like I players will proud.
Yeah.
Adriano this is senior.
Now we know where height has one.
I think say last generation Ronaldinho was the captain at that time. Now after Neymar Eba.
Oh, okay.
So after the phase, Ronaldinho a free mono and Neymar before the Brazilian national team. But I think say no problem. No, I think they should look into national policy very. No more say players don't be free Brazil. They maba Europe. No, they should make sure say these players will reach a certain period of age. Or make them free national team. So make them free Brazil as a country. They maba the European clubs. And yes, some maba an inconsistent performance of them. So Real Madrid football or performing at the highest speaker, you who know a best player, but when it comes to the national team, the form needs to be dropped. Into Brazil, dear, no. I think the national policy no more have the more on
almost a Sunday,
and
they need to maintain it almost a Sunday because boys no at this time at age 17 on being moving with the policy or without the policy. They need to change administration systems. So yeah, in terms of managerial aspect, and then they should work on that. But police almost is not. The boys are now seen or exposed to European market.
Or the my should go. Now,
Sudan as a country, I think Sudan is doing very well when it comes to the World Cup qualifiers and the AFCON qualifiers. One of the major things I ever Sudan currently as we speak, and they say they are war-torn country currently. So Sudan, there's no proper football league or so being their local league or most of these clubs or Al Khartoum qualifying to the Confederation Cup or playing the Champions League. It has been a problem for Sudan as a national team and as a Sudan as a country. But then with the good news about Sudan as a national team is that most of their players now campaign outside the country in Libya, campaign in Libya, campaign Dubai, campaign Saudi Arabia, which is actually led by the head coach called Coach Kwesi Appiah, and the former and the deputy coach for Ignatius the Sudan as a national team. But the man down so they said so track the call back in the history of Sudan. Sudan is an Islamic state. Whether you like it or not, an Islamic state, and the majority of Islam say Sudan is close to about 89% in Sudan. Christians say close to about just 9%, and other religious groups say just 2%. So dominantly, the Muslim people are dominating Sudan, but then so what tracked the call back in the year 1966, there was a particular political leader in Sudan, in whom he was called Sadiq al-Mahdi. This was a political leader in 1966, and then he became a prime minister for Sudan in 1966 and 1967. But after Ufriso was a prime minister, and he came back to become the military leader for the Sudan as a country in 1986. So in 1986, he came back. He was just a prime minister and also a religious leader who was actually focusing the movement of the Umar National Party in Sudan. So he led that particular movement and it became successful. So the reign as a political leader lasted from 1966 to the year 1988. But then in 1989, one of the biggest things that happened in Sudan was that Papa, your friend, Omar al-Bashir, he was then the military leader for that particular Armed Forces Revolutionary Council. They wanted to have a revolutionary change and also be to target coup d'etat in Sudan as a country. And when they did that, the coup was successful enough in Sudan, and then he was able to outgust Papa, your friend, Sadiq al-Mahdi from the seat of government for him himself as Omar al-Bashir to become the new president of Sudan. Or better now, so as a president, through 3 constitutional changes in Sudan. In the year 1989, he was a military leader from 1989 to 1992. The 1992, the Sudan as a country became a constitutional-based system. It will allow civilian rule of government, not much change for a typical democratic system of government and autocratic system of government. So Papa Omar al-Bashir was the president, and he stood on for power from 1989 to 2019. But the protesters in Sudan, in the year back 2018 in 1st December, they told it why I said he only claims a typical president or minus in a democratic system of governance. But most of the people over there believe that he's not a democratically elected president. He is an authoritarian, and is as a dictator in Sudan as a country. So they started to protest against Omar al-Bashir as the president of Sudan. And when they did that, they succeeded. Almost as a protest against him, so overthrown from the seat of government. Omar al-Bashir came out to say, so then he will accept the fact that Obama Neba and Ababedi. So similar issue like what happened in Libya as far back in 2013-2015 when they were able to overthrow Gaddafi from the seat of government. A bit to Omar al-Bashir in 2019. But then in 15th April 2019, the massive protest by the protesters in Sudan became immense, and they were able to overthrow Omar al-Bashir from the seat of government. The 2 majority leaders in Sudan, of which no much military leaders anymore, the Rapid Support Forces and then the Sudan military forces. So these 2 military forces were 2, and they wanted to change the narrative of Sudan since 1989. No a democratic system of governance. They wanted to change the narrative and come into a civilian rule and a civilian system of governance. And that was the moment this particular leader called Abdel Fattah al-Burhan. He is the leader of the military leader movement of Sudan as a country. Then you get Mohamed Dangalo, or also the military leader for the side of the Rapid Support Forces. Only deputy military leader to this particular man called Abdel Fattah al-Burhan. But of course, they say these 2 military leaders, Obiankasa Isru, are insecure with their movement because they feel say the Rapid Support Forces no mere part of them. They've actually organized themselves very well, and they fought for Libya and they fought for Yemen. And so our intervention in Libya, our intervention in Yemen is so great. Papa we a military leader of Sudan, but what's not who say no. The moment Obama Papa we danga Sudan country ni betimi abo. So send a bear bibi betimi no ompene a massive rule of government na embassy. That year 2019 to 2023, it led the country to become unstable in terms of everything. Our population is close to about 25 million in population. But because of the war, and that's because of the misunderstanding between Mohamed Dangalo and then Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, it has led to 12.5 million people. So misplaced. Being is seen as refugees, is seen as and is seen so free or my much different country as we speak right now. But in the year 2020-2023, they needed to take their sporting activities very, very serious. For them to appoint Papa, if it's a coach, Kwesi Appiah, to become the next head coach for the Sudanese national team. And when he came, he has been able to stable everything. At the time of Sudan as a country, a war-torn country, everything going on, this particular man called Coach Kwesi Appiah, as a well-experienced coach who was seen as the former ex-player of Ghana Black Stars, the former captain who led the Ghana Black Stars in 1982 AFCON. The AFCON, no? He was a typical lead back for the Ghana Black Stars, and he played for Kumasi Asante Kotoko from 1983 to 1993. Even as at that time in 2001-2002, he was then assistant head coach for Papa Fred Sam Ujudu as part of his technical team for Ghana Black Stars. And he has been able to become an assistant coach also to Papa Malik Jabel at the time I know Asante Kotoko. Wow. So in terms of experience, in terms of everything, he has actually have that kind of experience. This man has actually brought hope into the lives and into the people of Sudan as a country and even to Sudan as a national team. Not only about sports, but then he has added entertainment aspect to the sporting fraternity in Sudan currently as we speak. So when you check into the AFCON qualifying games, you could actually imagine, say, Coach Kwesi Appiah has been able to qualify Sudan to actually match up that particular country called Angola in the last AFCON qualifiers. Say, boy, if only Nigeria and Ghana, you know, with the same group. Angola got 14 points, 4 wins, 2 draws with 0 losses, and then Sudan got 8 points, 2 wins, 2 draws, and then 2 losses in that particular AFCON qualifying matches. And then Nigeria 7.2 wins, 1 draw. Ghana had just 3 points. We failed to beat Sudan. We failed to beat Angola. And Coach Kwesi Appiah created the magic, not only about the sports, but then he has added sportainment to that particular people. So with my revival, the hopes of the Sudanese people, and even the World Cup qualifying grounds. Right now, as we speak, Congo Funidi first, and now about 1-1 with South Sudan. Senegal for the second with Congo for 13 points. Senegal just 12 points, and then Sudan 12 points as we speak right now. He's a typical Ghanaian boy. And then most of these experiences in America started as far back in 2007 when he was being appointed as an assistant coach for the Ghana Black Stars, who was seen as a deputy head coach for Claudio Timidio Muremu in the CAN 2008. And he was seen as the deputy head coach for Milovan Rajevac when he went to the 2010 World Cup and even the 2010 AFCON. The proper job on the toward the manner after say the Kwesi Nyantakyi at that time as the FA president of Ghana, having the hope in Kwesi Nyantakyi for him to become the under 23 Blacks coach, for him to go to the All African Games. He had that hope in him for him to appoint him as the head coach of Ghana Black Stars in the year 2014, and he became the first black coach to take the Ghana Black Stars to the 2014 World Cup. And then he is doing that magic for the side of Sudan. Just a point, they say pretty or more against the side of DR Congo, and even the same point as Senegal. The next match he is playing Senegal in the 1st October but the kind of first born who the side of Sudan national team is actually superb for Coach Kwesi Appiah, and then he needs to be applauded. The last 5 games, the last 5 home games for the side of Coach Kwesi Appiah, 2 wins, 3 draws for himself, and he has done very, very, very well.
Macho Mrebebre, right?
Yes.
9.5 million.